How to stop suffering for unknown reasons or unknown things in order to keep diminishing our confidence, keep diminishing our experience. This is the topic that I want to talk about today. Hi, friends. My name is Isela Armonova. Welcome to this Tools for Transitioning Humanitarians. And the reason why I wanted to talk about being aware of how we're suffering for things we don't even know what we're suffering for and then what to do about it is something that keeps coming up in my coaching practice with so many humanitarians. And I wanted to really dive into how you can detect it for yourself, how this looks like, why we need to talk about it, and what to do about it, right? So let's dive in. So first, how this looks like and how you can recognize it is that some people tell me that they are they are not good people. They should be good people, but they're not, and they don't really know what that good people looks like or what their definition of it is. Maybe they have some ideas of they heard from the society in terms of what good people can look like. But because they kept telling themselves they're not good people or they should be, but they're not, and they should have been by now, and that's not, and they just keep feeling this lack or keep feeling guilty, shame, and therefore they don't really become good people because they don't really know what good people even looks like for them because they didn't take the time to actually decide how that could look like. For some of other humanitarians that I talk to is that it comes this suffering comes around vague or unknown ideas of what impact is. They keep telling themselves, I'm not really making the impact that I want to or should be doing. So therefore, I must not be a good professional. I must not be a good humanitarian. And then when I ask them what is actually the impact they're wanting to do, they oftentimes don't know what that impact is or how it even should look like, how it should look like for them to be like, okay, this is when I feel satisfied with my impact. Otherwise, I'm not, right? They don't really know or haven't decided for themselves what that could look like. And therefore, they just keep suffering from this unknown, the impact they're not making, even though maybe they are making a lot of impact, but because their brain is so used to believing that they're not making the impact they should be, and therefore they keep suffering, not like feeling satisfied with their job, not really then believing that what they're doing is good enough or what they're doing is how it's supposed to be, and then be feeling discouraged, defeated, and then or feeling powerless and then suffering from those consequences, right? So you can see that these are the examples, and I will give one more example to make it even more clear, where we have like we think that there is a reason or there is 100% of how things should be and how we're not 100%, which is also sometimes a perfectionistic tendencies, right? And therefore, because we believe we're not 100% where we're supposed to, therefore we should be suffering from it and keep feeling busy with all of this instead of actually understanding what is it exactly that we mean, what is it that we need to be working on, and how to improve if necessary. And the third example that I want to give you that I was coaching on yesterday, one of my clients, is that she was saying that she had someone recently criticize her in a meeting, and then she felt like she's being judged and attacked in some ways as well. And then I got her exploring as to what she thought the judgment was about, right? And then she felt like it was someone was questioning her capacity. And then I said, okay, let's explore what is it in the capacity that um, someone might be questioning, right? Because that other person who was criticizing didn't say anything about her capacity or didn't say anything about this was the problem, but she took it as this person is questioning my capacity, right? So then whenever we are in such situation, what we want to be careful about, but also curious about, is to say, okay, being careful about in terms of not saying that this person is saying this about us, because that person might have been saying about us individually, about us as a team, about us as an organization. There might be many layers or elements, but it's dangerous for us to say that this means it's personal, it's about me, right? So why are we making it personal? That's where we want to get curious and understand it. And the curiosity part is we need to understand, or like get curious as to when someone criticizes us, or when someone judges us or attacks us, whatever it is, and we believe it's because of questioning our capacity, we want to use that judgment or criticism to find out why exactly questioning the capacity. And if it's a capacity, where exactly? What does that even mean? What part of our capacity they might be questioning, right? And this may give us a lot of insight. And in this case, she was telling me that her insight in terms of she's not really good enough in strategic discussions, right? Then I asked her, okay, how much does she believe now that she's good at strategic discussion, right? And she said 50%. Okay, then I asked her, what is the other 50%? And she didn't know what that other 50% was. Her brain just had her believe that it's just I'm not good at this and I should be at 100%, whatever that 100% is, right? And since I'm not at 100%, therefore I must not be good at it, right? And when you can see this example is that now let's go to talking about why we need to understand what are we suffering for. What is the reason why we're suffering is because one, as you can see in the last example, is that we may take judgments, other people's criticisms, judgments as personal when we are deep down are having our own insecurities around how we're not good at being strategic, for instance, right? That's one of the examples. Now, what is that being good at strategic even looks like? We haven't taken time to understand it for ourselves. We haven't decided this is when I am strategically good looks like, this is when it doesn't. And obviously, we can't really tangibly maybe quantify things, but at least we need to have our own understanding of or own definition of this is when I am strategically good 100% looks like, and this is when it's not, and this is how I'm going to improve it, right? So that's why the reason why we need to understand these vague concepts of ours as to where we should be and where we're not, the first reason I think is because of then not making other people's judgments personal when uh, or not let other people's judgments affect us by our own imaginary or our own vague ideas of this is where we're not where we should be, and if someone attacks it becomes like a double judgment, their judgment we believe, and then our own judgment, and that hits us hard. And when that hits us hard, then we're likely to stay in our bubble of how we're not good at this, how we are not professionals enough, how we're this enough, da da da. And therefore, we just stay in our own beating self up kind of mood, and we will not be improving. The other reason why we need to talk about this is exactly to understand why um, are we suffering is so that we can actually decide where specifically we need to be improving, right? We can't just vaguely imagine it should be 100% whatever, and without really knowing what that even 100% looks like. Excuse me. Now, it might be good that we have these aspirations for being 100%, whatever our definition of that 100% is. And if we have those aspirations, great, let's define what they are. And I will give you specific ways you can do that as well. And also, let's understand why we need to be at 100%, right? What happens if we already recognize, acknowledge where we are, which is, let's say, 50% according to our own judgment? Why we're not recognizing and valuing that 50%? And that brings me to my third point about why we need to talk about this is because otherwise we just keep diminishing what we already have. We just keep diminishing, devaluing what we already have, how great we are already, in the name of vague things that we're suffering for that we don't even know what they are. Right? So therefore, the the important part that I really want you to take away from this is whatever your version of I should be good at this, I should be better at this, there should be more. Even if maybe you are commenting to other colleagues' documents, or maybe you are commenting or you are even discussing with them in the meetings about how something should be improved, let's try to be very specific, right? Let's try to be very specific as to what we mean and how it should be. Otherwise, it just sounds like I don't like it, but I don't know why, right? And when we are in that space, we know that we're not really being professional, and therefore let's get professional about our own judgments of where we are not 100% and how can we be 100% without judging ourselves, without beating ourselves up, or without being vague about this, but rather, okay, I am telling myself that I am not strategically good at discussions, or I'm not working on strategic discussions or the strategic directions of the organization or of this topic that I am leading. I'm not good at this. Let's get clear as to where and how this looks like and how much we're already good at it and recognizing that, right? So now let's go to what to do, as I have led it to the third point that I want to make is let's get clear as to first, what do we mean by 100% that thing looking like? So let's say that you are telling yourself that you are not a good person, 100%, let's say. Now, what is that 100% good person looks like for you, and where you are lacking that, let's say 50%, whatever the percent that you believe you are currently are, what is it that you're lacking and how can you actually improve on it without judging yourself, without saying that I should be or I'm not, and having this shame or guilt. Instead of doing that, how can you get to being that good person that looks like for you? And note, it's important that let's not just take over and internalize what society has taught us all this time about how a good person should look like, how ethical person should look like, how moral person should look like, right? So I really want you to understand for yourself what that means for you. So what is your version of this is an ethical decision looks like, or this is an ethical person looks like, or this is the person who has morals look like, and make your own decision based on this. And then also when your brain says this is not 100% or this is not enough or this should be more and it's not more, then get clear as to what that more looks like. How would you be more good person or better person? What is that? What how would that look like? If you have this eternal feeling of I'm not enough, ask yourself how you being enough looks like. And then what is missing, and then how can you go for it? In terms of impact, the same is when you're thinking about I'm not making the impact that I want, ask yourself what does that impact look like? And are you talking about impact of you doing personally, or you being the part of the team, or you being part of the organization? What does that impact look like? Because I think we often make this mistake believing that if things are not going the way that we think it should be, we just make it so vague and say, oh, I must be not doing the good job, or we must not be doing the good job, or whatever it is. And even then get clear as to what does that good job look like, right? Because the more we can get concrete in our brains as to what it is that we are not having, what is it that we're missing, then we can be very specific, strategic about learning and improving instead of just vaguely beating ourselves up, right? So impact could be at the individual level, impact could be at the community level, impact could be at the massive level, and where you feel like you are falling short of making that impact. How do you feel like it could look like, and how are you doing it, and whether you like it or not, and why? But most importantly, ask yourself, is it realistic as well? Because I think, again, many of us have these perfectionistic tendencies to say that it should be like massive hundreds of people that we should be helping, or we should be delivering aid, or whatever, whatever. But is it realistic? Is it what we are supposed to be doing according to the mandate of the organization, according to the mission of the organization, or according to your own job? Or your brain is just wanting to say, okay, I'm not satisfied with whatever is going on. I don't really know what it is that I'm not satisfied, but I'm just not happy kind of place. Then we will not know and understand what's happening, but instead suffering for the things that we don't know. Now, when it comes to strategic ones, is the third category that I would say that many people tell me that I'm not strategic enough. I'm not working on strategic directions. I'm not really dedicating time to strategic documents or courses, whatever it is. If you are that type of person, I'm not good at this being strategic, basically, whatever your definition is. I would highly recommend for you to actually decide what that is. What is being strategic looks like. I mean, I have a hard time understanding sometimes what that is. And and probably because I have never really took the time to decide what that looks like for me, right? So same goes for you, is to think about, okay, what does being good strategically looks like? Is it the thinking process? Is it the part where you lead discussions around strategic topics? Or is it around contributing to the documents, or commenting documents, or is it about making some decisions that strategically affect the organization, or the people that you're serving, or the donor relations, whatever it is, right? So I think understanding what is our being good strategically 100% looks like is a blessing for us individually, because then we say, okay, where we are now and where we believe we should be in our growth, and we can just go and grow and improve ourselves. And that's a beautiful thing, but it needs to be concrete, right? If it's not concrete, then we're just making a uh, wouldn't it be nice kind of like wishful thinking, and we're not going to do anything about it. And the worst part is, as I said, if we're not really specific about it, then we're going to always use that as a reason for why we're not good for this job, why we can't really apply for this thing, because we are not good at this, right? So our judgment of ourselves matters so much in how we experience our lives, how we experience our work, how we experience our day to day. And therefore, if we notice that our brain is getting this very like lacking mindset, or this vague mindset or beating up for like unknown reasons kind of mindset, we need to shift to let's get specific. Because think about it, if other people did this to us, if other people said that, oh, Asal, you're actually not strategically good. Now, we may be offended, we may be pissed, whatever it is, but we also want to understand what they mean by it, right? So we may actually ask them, what do you mean by it? And can you be more specific? Because maybe we want to learn and grow, and that would be useful. So therefore, when you are defining whatever the thing that you're defining that you should be more of, like get specific in your own head as to what is it that you think you should be. Because some people I have coached, they tell me that, oh, they want to go and study this topic. And you can, of course, study this topic, but what matters in the end is that you feel like you are doing a difference, or you feel like you are already that person that you're wanting to be. And in order to have that feeling, it like your brain needs your own answers. Your brain needs your own convincing or your own conversation with yourself where you say, this is where I am, this is where I'm wanting. And I really want to go there without beating myself up, without feeling shame, without judging myself, without telling myself how I should be there and I'm not, because all of them are not useful, right? And therefore, how can we approach this as a learning curve and say, okay, this is what I'm believing I don't have, this is where I am, and this is the missing link, and this is how I'm going to cover that missing link, which may then lead to another missing link in the future because we want to keep growing and growing, and that's a beautiful thing. But let's do this because we really want to get curious and understand how we can better at what we're doing, how we can get better at who we are, instead of we're doing it so we can feel better. So, my dears, I hope that this was helpful for you to think about how your vague concepts that keep making you feel lack of, making you feel like you're suffering for no reason, or you don't really know what you're suffering for, but you keep suffering. And I really want us to remove that from our system so that we can actually focus on what matters and how to create what matters so that we can have our intentional um, uh, like lives the way that we want to, doing the things we want to, and growing in the process as well. So if you want to work on this, absolutely come coach with me. I would love to help you get very specific as to where you need to be improving and why, if you like your reasons, and getting your own definitions and then getting to work to improving them. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.